Hi guys, so I've had these, well, at least these three tools from Milwaukee, the 12-volt lineup, for a few months now. And I wanted to share my thoughts on them, let you know whether things have changed, my opinions have changed or not. This one, the 90-degree die grinder, is new. I've used it a number of times actually, but yeah, I've only had it for a few weeks now. So we'll talk about each one individually, what I like, what I dislike, whether I'd recommend it, and how interchangeable they are, especially, well, of course, these three. Can you use one to do the other two jobs, and how effective is it? So we'll get right into it. We'll start off with the drill driver. Let's get things out of the way. So this 12 volt, when I first got it, I thought it felt okay, and I instantly liked the metal chuck. But I kind of just thought it's going to be underpowered, it's going to be sluggish. I expected the drill bits to be slipping in the chuck, especially the larger ones. Didn't expect it to have enough power to really drill through much, but actually it's really taken me by surprise. Milwaukee's 12-volt lineup is very good, there's no doubt about it. But I kind of there was something about it that I didn't think it was really going to be that great. Well, really, there's very little to fault with it. I'm still not completely sold on these 12-volt handles. They're certainly not ergonomic. But apart from that, it's got all the settings you'd need, all the settings you'd expect, as well as a drill and impact drive, a hammer drill setting. And I've used this to drill into brick. Nothing crazy hard, not concrete, but brick to put things up on the wall. And it's been absolutely flawless. Not the most certainly not hammer drill setting like you'd expect on a corded tool, but more than enough to get the job done. And really, you can't complain. It's affordable, it does everything you'd want it to, and it's in a small type package. So it's really taken me by surprise, and I've used it a number of times, whether it be putting shelving together or drilling holes into shelving before you put screws in, going into brick a number of times. It's just been great. I've taken it all the way up to a 13mm drill bit and loaded it up, and again, it had absolutely no problem with drilling through timber with 13mm. It just kept going. I've put the 2 amp hour battery in here, just because I'd rather use the larger batteries in tools that I'd use a bit more. But yeah, apart from that, one thing I wasn't too convinced about originally was this electronic style clutch. Just something to get used to. But in terms of actually functioning, it's great. Highly recommend it. Small package, affordable, gets the job done, does everything you can ask of it, and really more. It is nicely built. So there we go. Highly recommend it. The second one, this one was the one I wasn't sure about. The 12-volt impact driver. This is different to an impact wrench. They have different heads to them. That's got a 3/8 socket, kind of, yeah, 3/8 drive. Whereas this has got a 1/4-inch hex with quick release collar. So, has it grown on me? Yes, it has. I still really dislike the handles. I just don't like them. However, I will say that the impact wrench actually has a different style handle, slightly, and it's ergonomically better. However, really, again, it's so light, it's so small, it's so capable. And the fact that you've got that capability in such a small package, it really is hard to dislike it once you've used it a while. When you go back to something bigger and you kind of think, do I really need that extra weight, that extra size, the extra battery capacity? And generally, for the majority of people, the answer is no. So yes, I like it. I really actually was surprised to find how much I enjoyed impact setting 1, especially for areas where you might not have the best position in terms of fearing that the Phillips head might cam out, and that slow setting is really helpful. Really nice to be able to bring it down so slow. Trigger has excellent response as well, slow speed response. You can really get it going. Basically, I don't know how many revolutions that is. I don't know what they say it was, but it's pretty impressive. And of course, you can go up to 3. I really don't find 3 very useful for what I use. I don't drill or I don't seat screws in like this production You know what I mean. I don't do it constantly all day, and I actually find it's too fast. It's almost, for me, it's a bit uncontrollable. I still haven't used the sheet metal setting yet. I've tried it a few times into wood and stuff, and nothing really happens. It just keeps impacting. So I'm not sure about it, but most of the time I'll sit on number 2. I'll drop back to 1 occasionally. Very rarely use the 3rd setting, just a bit too fast. We'll come back to these interchangeabilities in a second, especially now that we talk about the impact wrench. This I absolutely love. I think out of all the tools that I've got, maybe besides this one, the impact wrench, it's just such a good all-rounder. As all the other 12 volts, super compact, huge amount of power, enough power to do 95% of the jobs you'd expect an impact driver to be able to do for medium to light duty work around your cars, around outdoor power equipment, lawnmowers and stuff. Of course, it won't have any issues. Ride-on lawnmowers, taking blades off, there aren't going to be issues there. What makes this stand out so much though is, firstly, just actually how controllable it is, even more so than the impact driver. You've just got such good slow speed control. It's phenomenal. Not that you'd ever really want to go this slow, but the fact it's there and you can go all the way through the rev range is super useful. I really appreciate it. The other thing that I really love about it is this setting here. It's the 4th setting, and what it allows you to do is undo nuts and bolts and hardware at full impact, full speed setting, which is obviously super useful. However, when you go to tighten back up, let's put this little adapter on, which we're going to talk about shortly. When we go to tighten back up, it will stop at the slightest resistance. Now you can adjust the amount of resistance or what point it stops by depending on how much force you put on the trigger. You have such an incredible amount of control here. I've done M4 tiny little carb screws into aluminium just to test it, and it will stop. So let me show you. If I was going to go full trigger and then stop, you'll see that it might impact once. It didn't. And that, they say, I think, off the top of my head, don't quote me, but it's about 10 foot-pounds. It will tighten the bolt up to 10 foot-pounds. But of course, if I go slower, barely even needing to touch the attachment, and it will stop. It's so good to avoid cross-threading. It also allows you to add or torque up nuts really lightly, and then you can go back through other settings, or you can jump onto your torque wrench. Most of the time, I'll either be in that setting, I find it really useful, or if I want to then zip things up afterwards, I'll then go on to setting 3, just because you've got, even at setting 3, you've got really good slow speed control. You can go through that with rev range. So I really, yeah, if you want to be careful, you don't want to strip things out so quickly, then you can go on 1 and 2. But really, the amount of control you've got on setting 3 is phenomenal. I love it. Absolutely love this tool. The ergonomics of the handle is ever so slightly different too. This section up here on this tool is slightly pointier. It kind of comes to an apex. Whereas on this section here, it's slightly more round. And you wouldn't think it would do much, but it is just that bit more comfortable to hold. There is more weight in here than there is on the drill driver. And so, you know, yeah. It is what it is what it is. Now, before we move on to the 90-degree die grinder, I just want to cover a couple of things. Are these 3 tools interchangeable to an extent? And the answer is yes. So what I mean by that is, typically, an impact wrench will take a socket. Pretty simple. A drill driver will end up taking 1/4-inch hex bits. Of course, the drill will end up taking whatever you put in there, really. It's not going to have too much of an issue. Can you drill holes with these two? And the answer is yes. You can either get a 1/4-inch hex drill bit, or what I've gone and got, this is a long time ago, is just an adapter that you can put in. And that's okay, and it works in a pinch. It's not something I'd like to do frequently. And that's about as far as that goes. Certainly wouldn't be drilling into brick with this. The impact is not, a drill driver impact goes back and forth. Okay, whereas with the impact wrench and impact driver, it's a rotational force where the, it's like a hammer twists, coils a spring. Eventually the spring will get to the point where it will slip over the hammer or the anvil, and the hammer will crack the anvil and it will spin and hit, spin, hit, spin, hit. So it's this rotational force, whereas this is more of a back and forth force. So in that respect, they're not interchangeable. Yes, you can drill holes with this setup. I don't really like it. It seems to drill a little bit messier. It's not particularly pleasant. However, then you have the other thing. Can you, which of course this is designed to drive in screws, small light hardware. Can you use the impact wrench to drive small light hardware? The answer is yes, with an adapter. Should you? The answer is no, you shouldn't. And can you drive your sockets with an impact driver? The answer is yes. Should you? I would say it's better to do this way around than this way around, for the simple fact that this impact wrench hits harder and slower. So the chances of you stripping out, and I've done this, I've tested it, the chances of you stripping out hardware, breaking the heads, is much higher because each impact is far more. It's slightly slower in the amount of impacts it does, but it punches really, really hard. So can you? Yes. Can you interchange them? Yes. Should you? No, not in that respect. I wouldn't recommend it. Can you this way? You can, but you might find if you're not careful, you'll damage the shanks. You can break these shanks. So again, what you'll find is this will impact far more frequently. It will go faster, but the impacts will be less. So you're far less likely to have any issues going and reducing power, just increasing speed and impact rates per minute. This one, at a pinch, but you're asking for trouble, really. That's my experience, and I'm kind of sticking with it. However, if the majority of what I'm doing is, say, socket work, I'm working on a mower or something, and the majority is socket, and I might just come across a couple of small Torx bits or Allen heads, I would just put it on a really low impact setting and just see if it would loosen up. If it does, well then that's fine, we'll work with it. If it doesn't, either go back to an impact driver or maybe just go in with a wrench and go from there and then continue on. So you can do I recommend it? No, it's not really a good idea. It's not really what it's designed for. In a pinch you can, but you may find, like I have, that you end up not through actually using it. It was just during testing. I wanted to see the difference, and you can feel it. They just feel very different in use. They seem like they're similar, but they're really not. They are different in use. So yeah, you can, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. I love them for being good at the job they're intended to be used for. So there we go. And a few people said when I first got this tool, I got the wrong tool. I should have got this one. And I used this for a while, and I then did decide to purchase this tool, and I can confidently say, actually, for small hardware like the chainsaws and stuff that use Torx, Allen heads, Phillips, you're wrong. This is exactly what that's used for. Light impacts, low torque work, great for pulling out things that are torqued to 5 to 10 Newton meters. Wonderful, really good tool. And yeah, it is what it is. This is not designed for that, as I've just explained why. It's designed for sockets that are tighter and just heavier duty. It's the long and short of it. So when you're working on chainsaws, I'll give you an example, or any outdoor power equipment, generally you'll see Torx screws here. That's where these come in, and that's where these are designed to be used. T27, I think it's that one. And this is the perfect tool for that, especially on setting 2. This setup, you're going to cause yourself problems and you will start to break things off. Not what it's designed for, not what it's intended for, and I don't recommend you do it. So there we go. For those that are saying that you shouldn't use an impact driver for Torx like that, you're wrong. Then we have, lastly, my most recent purchase, which I absolutely love. And I've seen so many reviews on this, and the reality is the majority of people are expecting something that this is not designed to do. They're expecting to be able to put a lot of pressure, remove a huge amount of material, or at least rust, paint, etc. over a large area. It's not what this is designed for. This is designed to have very light pressure, high speed, and the battery life if you've got 6 amp hour, is about 30 minutes. And for the majority of work, it's perfect. Again, if you want to strip the rust off the whole of a car, you're not going to have a very good time with it. If you want to do cleaning of gaskets, off gasket surfaces, remove certain amounts of rust off different areas, sharpening mower blades, sharpening edger, well, not so much edger blades, but mower blades, those sorts of things, stripping paint, it's absolutely excellent. Cannot fault it at all. There was one thing I don't like, but it's the same for all of these attachments. I wish it had a locking button that you could then press that button down. You could just tighten it by hand, and you have kind of like a chuck system that can be adjusted by hand. You have to have the 2 keys and you have to swap them around. It is what it is, doesn't really matter. I've been buying a few bits and bobs so that I can get to work with them. The one thing I can't find is this kind of, it's like a plasticky brush, but a friend said he's going to send me one, so that's great. 2 different types of wire wheel, high speed, carbon steel wire wheel. Don't use carbon steel on stainless steel because it can cause it to rust. They're the 2 sockets, the 2 wrenches I was telling you about. And then I've got the adapter to be able to do cutting metal. I bought myself a pack of 60 grit wheels that then go onto this disc, and I've sharpened blades and stuff with it. It's been absolutely excellent. Removed rust with it, absolutely excellent. You can see that's the one I've started on. Not a huge amount, but enough just to get a feel for it, see what it's like, go through the settings, see how quick it removes rust. And then I also have, they come with, no one else has mentioned this, but they come with different size collets, which is pretty cool. I didn't know that they did that. I thought it was all just the 1/4 inch / 6.3 mil. It's not, you actually have a decent amount of adjustability there with what you can put on the end of them. And then lastly, I bought this kit which contains 3 Scotch-Brite pads and 3 sanding discs. All of these are the same kind of quick release system that goes onto the end of the jig, or this little, whatever you want to call it, backing plate. And as I said, it's done so many good things. I've even sharpened, I had little wire cutters, and I thought, oh look, I'm just going to see if I can get in there, just a quick one side, quick the other. It's not going to be surgically sharp, of course, but it's going to be functionally sharp for the intended use, which is generally cutting things like wire. So honestly, I'm excited. Haven't used it a huge amount, but I'm excited for what it is. Really nice adjustability, really nice control. It doesn't have fine control. That's not, actually, that was very fine, but if we go on to the top setting, that's as slow as I can get it. You do, but it's certainly not fine. It's not like you would get from an impact wrench, for example. Check this out. So this is on the 3rd setting on loosening, so this is as fast as it can go. Whereas this is kind of like that's as slow as it goes in that setting. It's really not bad. I think I'm actually just giving it a harder time than it deserves. It's absolutely fine. So the long and short of it is, what do I think? I absolutely love them. Can you interchange the drill driver, impact wrench, and impact driver? You can. Should you? Probably not. You're only asking for trouble. They're really designed to do a certain job and do that well. And going outside of that, you are risking having a few issues. If you're cool, I would say if you can afford it, buy them individually and buy the one you need and stick with it. As I said, if you're working the majority of the time driving in screws, light hardware, whether it be on cabinetry and all that, or whether you're doing small engine repair work and you're doing majority of Allen key kind of hex style Torx, bits, Phillips, flatheads, I would say this tool, even on equipment, is far better than this tool. Whereas if you're using or you want to be removing sockets that might be a little bit harder to remove, you need a bit more power, that's where the impact wrench comes in. This is better for kind of lawnmower size and up. This is kind of better for lawnmower, well, slightly smaller than lawnmower and down. Certainly if I tried to torque something up with this one on impact 3 setting, there would be no chance that this would pull this one out. And I've done it a number of times. It can't do it. You can even feel when you're removing things, it just hasn't got that same amount of impact power, which is not a disadvantage. It's absolutely an advantage because it means you're not going to strip things out so readily. So there we go. And then the drill driver, the dark horse. I knew these 2 were going to be good. In fact, I knew these 3 were going to be excellent. This one I wasn't so sure about, kind of thought it was a bit gimmicky, but actually it's turned out to be fantastic. Besides getting used to that electrical clutch, and the typical M12 handle, because the battery has to go into them, they're a bit chunkier. I actually think it's a great tool, and it can do everything you need it to, and more. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed my update. I love them. I love the 12 volt lineup. I think they're absolutely fantastic. They're light, they're small, they're compact, they're really powerful for what they offer. For the majority of people working on the majority of equipment, even if it's all the way up to your own truck at home, you're going to be absolutely fine with the M12. There might be a few things you can't remove. Go get yourself a breaker bar, break them off. I reckon 98% of what you're going to be touching and working on and fiddling with, you're going to be absolutely fine. You really don't need much more than that. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed it. That's my little review. Maybe I'll update this video in 6 months' time and I'll have a different opinion. Maybe I'll have new tools. But for now, it is what it is. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to go off and I'm going to go repair a strimmer. I've got another strimmer out in the shed. I've done a number of strimmer videos, so I'm not going to get that on camera. But yeah, hope you guys have a great day. Wish me luck and we'll catch up soon. All right. Cheers, guys. Bye.